You've probably heard the saying, iron sharpens iron, a million times, right? We toss it around, but have you ever stopped to think about what it really means? What if it's more than just a nice-sounding metaphor? Well, today, we're going to dig in and unpack the real mechanics, the philosophy, and the practical side of this super old, super powerful piece of wisdom.
And here it is, straight from the book of Proverbs. This one little verse has been a guide for relationships for, well, centuries. It's this incredible statement about how we connect with each other. And spoiler alert, it's not always easy. To really get it, we've got to look a little closer.
So, this is the big question, isn't it? What are we actually talking about here? Is this just about being a good, supportive friend who always has a shoulder to cry on? Or does it point to something way more active? Something that, involves a bit of friction, maybe even some sparks?
Okay, so before we can really wrap our heads around the metaphor, we have to understand the real-world physical process. I mean, what is actually happening when a piece of iron sharpens another? It's pretty fascinating stuff, and it's the key to unlocking the whole idea. Every single time, the sharpening process starts with one thing: dullness. You gotta have something that's lost its edge. Think about an old shaving razor. It gets used, it gets worn down, and eventually, it just doesn't cut anymore. We can get like that too, right? In our thinking, in our goals, we can get dull. So how do we get that edge back?
So here's how it works in the real world. Sharpening is literally an act of controlled friction. It's about scraping two pieces of iron against each other, on purpose, to grind away the little imperfections, the tiny fragments that make the blade dull. You're removing the weak parts to create a stronger, razor-sharp edge. It takes both force and a whole lot of precision.
And that brings us to a really, really important point. There's a huge difference between just being a passive supporter and being an active sharpener. See, one just kind of keeps things as they are. It avoids conflict. It's all about simple affirmation. But active sharpening, that requires friction. It creates sparks. It's all about removing those dull fragments so something better can emerge.
This quote just nails it. This whole idea isn't a passive, gentle process. It's not supposed to be comfortable all the time. Real sharpening, real growth, yeah, sometimes it's going to be a little bit intense, and that's okay.
All right, so if this sharpening business can get intense, how do we actually do it without, hurting people or ruining our relationships? That's a great question, and that's where what we're calling the rules for relationships come into play. These are the principles that help us use our influence with strength, but also with a lot of care.
So how do we actually do this? Okay, 3 big things. First, you gotta know the material. You can't treat every person the same. You need to understand who you're talking to. Is your friend going through a crisis? Maybe now's not the time for critique. Maybe they just need support. Second, this has to be mutual. It takes iron to sharpen iron. If one person is doing all the challenging and the other is just taking, that's not sharpening, that's just draining. And finally, number 3, wield with care. Look, it is probably not your job to sharpen every single person you meet. This isn't about calling out strangers on the internet. It's about investing in the people you truly have a relationship with.
I love this. This is such a great way to think about it. There's a super fine line between sharpening someone and just tearing them down. Sparks are gonna fly. That means something real is happening. But the goal is never, ever to burn the whole house down. It's all about finding that perfect balance between challenging someone and supporting them.
So, let's say we do it. We get that balance right. What's the payoff? What does a relationship like that actually produce? What does strong iron even look like in real life? Let's break down the results.
Okay, these are the signs of someone who's been sharpened. First, they genuinely have your back. They're not competing with you, they're celebrating your success. Second, they can handle themselves. They're not codependent. They listen to you, for sure, but they also know how to stand on their own 2 feet. And third, they're open to hearing deeper truths. They don't want to get stuck in a rut, they want to grow.
And this, right here, this is the ultimate goal. It's not about being the loudest or the toughest. It's about having a quiet confidence, a solidness. When you are truly sharpened, you don't have to run around proving yourself to people. You just are. You're solid iron.
So why are we digging into all of this? What's the big picture? Because let's be honest, we live in a pretty chaotic world. And in times like these, just being strong on your own isn't enough. We need strong communities, groups of people who can really handle anything that comes their way.
And that is the ultimate vision here. Iron Sharpens Iron isn't just a self-help tip for one person. It's a blueprint for building a community, a kingdom of iron, made up of strong, supportive, sharpened people who lift each other up. A community that, when things get tough, just can't be broken.
So as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with a real challenge. I want you to actually think about this. Take a look at your relationships. In your friendships, are you a passive supporter or are you an active sharpener? And just as important, who in your life is doing that for you? Who is challenging you to be the best version of yourself? Seriously, the answers to those questions, they might just change everything.